Hey, 5 and 6, you just finished reading chapter 2 on your own. I want you to go back to that character chart page, and the second and third line are for the next two characters that you met in chapter 2, Angus Tuck and May Tuck. Angus Tuck also goes just by Tuck, and then May Tuck is his wife that we heard the most about. We heard some interesting things in chapter 2. How many years had they looked the same? That's right, 87 years. 87 years. To look the same, to be the same age? Interesting. Very intriguing. Let's move on to chapter 3, shall we? At noon of that same day, in the first week of August, Winnie Foster sat on the bristly grass just inside the fence and said to the large toad who was squatting a few yards away across the road, "I will, though, you'll see, maybe even first thing tomorrow, while everyone's still asleep." It was hard to know whether the toad was listening or not. Certainly, Winnie had given it good reason to ignore her. She had come out to the fence very cross, very near the boiling point, on a day that was itself near to boiling, and had noticed the toad at once. It was the only living thing in sight except for a stationary cloud of hysterical gnats suspended in the heat above the road. Winnie had found some pebbles at the base of the fence, and for lack of any other way to show how she felt, had flung one at the toad. It missed altogether, as she had fully intended it should, but she made a game of it anyway, tossing pebbles at such an angle that they passed through the gnat cloud on their way to the road. The gnats were too frantic to notice these intrusions, however, and since every pebble missed its final mark, the toad continued to squat and grimace without so much as a twitch. Possibly it felt resentful, or perhaps it was only asleep. In either case, it gave her not a glance when at last she ran out of pebbles and sat down to tell it her troubles. "Look here, Toad," she said, thrusting her arms through the bars of the fence and plucking at the weeds on the other side. "I don't think I can stand it much longer." At this moment, a window at the front of the cottage was flung open, and a thin voice, her grandmother's, piped, "Winifred! Don't sit on that dirty grass. You'll stain your boots and stockings." And another, firmer voice, her mother's, added, "Come in now, Winnie, right away. You'll get that heat stroke out there on a day like this, and your lunch is ready." "See," said Winnie to the toad, "that's just what I mean. It's like that every minute. If I had a sister or a brother, there'd be someone else for them to watch. But, as it is, there's only me. I'm tired of being looked at all the time. I want to be by myself for a change." She leaned her forehead against the bars, and after a short silence went on in a thoughtful tone. "I'm not exactly sure what I'd do, but something interesting, something that's all mine. Something that would make some kind of difference in the world. It'd be nice to have a new name, to start with, one that's not all worn out from being called so much. And I might even decide to have a pet. Maybe a big old toad like you, that I could keep in a nice cage with lots of grass and—" At this, the toad stirred and blinked. It gave a heave of muscles and plopped its heavy mud ball of a body a few inches farther away from her. "I suppose you're right," said Winnie. "Then you'd just be the way I am now. Why should you have to be cooped up in a cage, too? It'd be better if I could be like you, out in the open and making up my own mind. Do you know they've hardly ever let me out of this yard all by myself? I'll never be able to do anything important if I stay here like this. I expect I'd better run away." She paused and peered anxiously at the toad to see how it would receive this staggering idea, but it showed no signs of interest. "You think I wouldn't dare, don't you?" she said accusingly. "I will, though. You'll see. Maybe even first thing in the morning, while everyone's still asleep." Pause there. Do you see what the author did? At the very beginning of chapter 3, go back to 13, it talks about her talking to a large toad. And she says the same line twice. "I will, though, you'll see, maybe even first thing tomorrow while everyone is still asleep." Then she says it again right here. Interesting. So what the author did there was she said part of the text, and then she did a flashback, kind of a flashback. She added more details in between the same line twice. So in between, I will, though, you'll see the author gave us a glimpse into Winnie Foster's life through her talking to the toad. Obviously, we know the toad can't answer her, unless this is some kind of fantasy book, which we don't know yet. But we do know some things about her life. She feels like a caged toad. How? She feels like she is suffocated, that if she had siblings, it would be better. So we learned she's an only child. We learned that she's stuck inside a lot of the time, that her grandmother lives with her and her mother, obviously. So we don't know if she has a dad yet, but we do know she has a mom and a grandma, and they seem to have pretty high standards for her. Let's keep going. Winnie, came the firm voice from the window. All right, I'm coming, she cried, exasperated, and then added quickly, I'll be right there, Mama. She stood up, brushing at her legs where bits of itchy grass clung to her stockings. The toad, as if it saw that their interview was over, stirred again, bunched up, and bounced itself clumsily off toward the wood. Winnie watched it go. Hop away, Toad, she called after it. You'll see. Just wait till morning. And with that, we're at the end of chapter 3. So we have read prologue, chapter 1, 2, and 3. We have met Winnie. We've met Maytuck. We've met Tuck. We've heard Winnie's mother, who we don't know the name of yet, and we've heard from Winnie's grandmother. So those can all go on your character chart, which I gave you 2 pages. There's a character chart and a character chart continued. Go ahead and do that. Then I want you to turn right past our vocabulary study page that you completed the other day, and I want you to look at understanding the story. In understanding the story, we're going to answer 2 multiple choice questions, a short answer question and a long answer question. And then you could also choose to do a little extra. So the first question is, what nickname does the narrator give to the Foster's cottage? Run-of-the-mill cottage, touch-me-not cottage, sturdy and small cottage, in the middle of nowhere cottage. I think we all know the answer to that. It is B, touch-me-not cottage. Then, I kind of gave you a hint at the beginning of this video. Number 2, how long has the Tuck family looked exactly the same? If you can't remember, look back at the end of chapter 2. It tells you right at the bottom of the text on that last page of chapter 2. Short answer. In the prologue, the narrator explains that 3 things happen that at first do not seem to be connected. What are the 3 things? So let's investigate this question. First, it says in the prologue. So we have to turn to the in the prologue section of our book. Here we go. Okay. It says 3 things happened, and at first there appeared to be no connection between them. At dawn, Maytuck set out on her horse for the wood at the edge of the village of Tree Gap. She was going there as she did once every 10 years to meet her 2 sons. At noontime, Winnie Foster, whose family owned Tree Gap Wood, lost her patience at last and decided to think about running away. And at sunset, a stranger appeared at the Fosters' gate. He was looking for someone, but he didn't say who. 1, 2, 3. The narrator, or the author rather, I'm the narrator because I'm reading to you, but the author gave us 3 times. At dawn, at noontime, and at sunset. Those are your hints for the short answer. 1, 2, 3. Look at the long answer. In chapter 3, so we're going to chapter 3, what we just read. What reasons does Winnie give for wanting to run away? What reasons does Winnie give for wanting to run away? Go ahead and fill that out. Long answer. So long answer means complete sentences. Short answer, list. Long answer, complete sentences. I want you to fill every single line in a nice sentence. Then a little extra. Why do you think the tucks have looked exactly the same for so many years? That's a prediction. I want you to make a prediction as to why. For tonight, or for this week I should say, for your homework, I'd like you to do the chapter summary, prologue through chapter 3. If you could give a title to this section of the book, what would it be? What happens in these chapters? Give a summary. What was your favorite part of this section of the book? And what new words did you learn in this section? Please don't put your vocabulary words here unless it really is one you would like to include, but try to find a couple of others. Then, a little bit of fun, draw a picture of something you think could represent this section. I'll see you in the next video to learn a little bit more about the story setting, about what Natalie Babbitt has set up for us so far. See you soon.